Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for those who are already here, those of you who are online. This is the North Park Civic Association meeting of May 11th, 2022. And this is our Congressional Candidates Forum. Going to give our candidates a hand. Yes. We do have some information. Unfortunately, Ed Esposito could not make it because of a conflict tonight. Mr. Khalil has not clarified whether they're coming. They said they were coming, but we don't know where they are. We haven't heard any word. And I think David is trying to get on with Mr. Corbett. But we have with us Mr. Solages and Miss Bynoe. Welcome. Welcome. This is the North Park Civic. Some of us over there, but this is the North Park Civic. And we are here for the education and uplifting of our community. You know, kind of take it back. We improve the political, educational, social, and economic quality of life for African Americans and other racial and ethnic minorities that are here within citizens and residents of North Park. And we welcome you. I myself and President Ronnie Miles, we have our first Vice President, Professor Moore, who has multiple positions, Professor Moore. Our Deputy County Executive. Well, we have our Treasurer here, Ms. Wanda Brooks. Yes. Who else is on the? We have one of our committee chairs here, Ms. Ziegler. Yes. We are in the House and we're here to become informed and engaged voters in this process. Does anybody know when this election is? Put this in your calendar, everyone, August 23rd, 2022. Usually early voting is 2 weeks before that, correct? And you all know that's at 1 Westchester Street at City Hall. Usually starting at 9 a.m. They will put the posting up. It is not up as of yet because it's too far down the line to be posted as of now. But we're gonna say good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North Park Civic Association's 2022 Candidates Forum. Oh, yes.
There's still a primary on June 28th, but it's not for this congressional. The congressional seat got moved. The governor's race and any other primary that was related to the governor or I believe the assembly will still move forward.
So they're still gonna have that
on June 28th.
Yeah, we have two things going on at one time. So there will be a primary still on the 28th, but not for the congressional seats, for the Assembly and Gubernatorial races that we also are taking place at the same time. Keep June 28th on the calendar. And I do know those early voting dates, that's the 18th through 26th. Those are our early voting dates for that. We're going to get ready to go ahead and get right started. We have got some questions that will come up later on for you guys, which have been fielded through the North Park and the community. Also, just for informational purposes, none of our candidates were privy to any of these questions. They can attest to that themselves. They're going to hear the questions tonight. There are several candidates who we like to hear from everyone because the purpose of this organization is to have an informed, engaged voting public. And basically, if we don't have the people who are running here, we're not informed. We don't know their platforms, we don't know their background, we may not be familiar with them. Some of the names we are familiar with in other positions, that would be Laura Gillen, Bill Stanford, Keith Corbett, who's trying to get on now, Ciela Bynoe, Carrie Solages, Kevin Shakil, and Anthony Esposito for this particular race. We have tonight with us Ms. Ciela Bynoe and Mr. Carrie Solages. And what we're going to do now is give space for the introductions. We're going to start with Ciela Bynoe.
Good evening. As stated, my name is Ciela Bynoe, and I am a former Board of Education trustee for the Westbury School District. I have served also as the North Hempstead Housing Commissioner, and I'm currently in service to Nassau County's 2nd Legislative District. I am running for this race for many different reasons that are bubbled up out of my lived and professional experiences. Number one, as a 18-year breast cancer survivor who worked through 95% of my treatment plan to almost have my medical coverage taken away based on being newly appointed in a position, I don't want to ever see anyone stare down the barrel of that gun. It was the altruistic spirit and service of those who were perfect strangers, basically, who gave of their time to ensure that I was able to stay on the medical benefits while I was being cared for in the hospital, that leads me to reaffirm and double down in my service to this community. I have served for 14 and a half years as the town of Huntington's executive director, and it's that professional experience that also leads me to run, because I know firsthand how hard it is for families to be able to survive here on Long Island. And I also know about the housing challenges that we all face. We need housing for all, housing for our seniors, housing for our working class family, those who want to purchase, and those who would just like some place to rent and live here and work here and play here in Nassau County. And so it's those items that led me to run. And in service as a Nassau County legislator, I have been able to advance issues on housing. I've been able to advance issues on the environment, advance issues with police reform, and also on behavioral health. Additionally, I've made sure that the community had everything that it would need as it related to having free breast cancer screenings, because I know that it was early detection that saved my life. So I'd like to go to Washington to continue much of the work that I've started here. And I've been able to achieve here, working across the aisle with both Democrats and Republicans. And so I know it's with that same spirit that I can go to Washington and yield results. So that's why I'm running, and I'm thankful to be here. I thank North Park Civic Association for having me and for conducting this type of forum, because it is important for everyone to know who's running and they can understand why people are running, and moreover, they can understand the issues. So thank you for hosting this, and I'm really elated to be here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go right now over to Mr. Solages.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today?
Hey.
Hey, I would have loved to be there. Thank you for this opportunity. I received the email last night, and I would have loved to be there to greet you in person along with my colleague in government, Legislator Bynoe. Nevertheless, it is a privilege and honor to speak before your civic association. As a county legislator for 10 years, I have been working hand in hand with several civic associations in my community. I understand that quality of life issues are very important. And as your Congress member, we're going to make sure that with our mobile unit, we are in all parts of the district, attending to the needs in the area, working with all layers of government, as I have had in the past 10 years, being able to work with the state, village governments to make sure that quality of life issues and other services are addressed for county residents. I represent the district of Elmont, Valley Stream, Inwood, South Law Park, Lawrence, and I live in Lawrence, and I live near the South Shore. And every time it rains, I reach out to all county facilities in our district, especially those in the southern part of the district in Inwood and Lawrence, just to make sure that there are no flooding issues. Living in the South Shore, or near the South Shore, we have significant environmental issues that we must discuss. Along with my colleague there, we were able in the legislature to approve of bonding for the connection of the Long Beach sewer facility to the county sewer facility. As a county legislator, we are responsible for the sewer system and multi-million dollars worth of infrastructure. And I'm very happy to say that as a county legislator, I've been able to secure millions upon millions of dollars for my district in making sure that infrastructure projects are improved. We care about the environment in my district. We have a county park in Inwood that I was able to secure funding to build a boat ramp and other facilities that use the waterfront as an asset. Being so close to JFK Airport, as a Congress member, I'm going to make sure that on the aviation committee, we can address pollution issues that may have a causal link to cancer. Also, I have a personal story in which why I'm running. As a young man in grade schools in the public education system, they tried to, shift me along to the special education or desegregate myself from other people in the general population. So as many other young Black and brown young boys and girls, in the 1975 Special Education Act, it was used in essence to segregate our young children from the general population in our schools without any professional designation as to whether these children have any learning or emotional disabilities. And with more congressional oversight, we can make sure that every young person in our school has a chance. I knew, thank God I had a strong mother fighting for me at the time, because by the time I was in 7th grade, I was in all advanced classes. And so that's one issue in education that we have to be more aware of. Education is the one gift that each generation can give to the next generation. So we want to make sure that we increase funding for our schools, our universal pre-K. Getting universal pre-K is important. I, as a board member of the EOC, which we have a site there in Long Beach, we make sure that the Head Start program is fully funded to help not just the children, but the families, the working families that need to have their children go to reliable educational programs. In addition, public safety is very important to me. And I seek to secure more funding to improve our public safety. As a legislator, I was able to secure funding for 8 auxiliary vehicles for our community. It's all about getting more funding for our districts, our special districts, our village government. We have to make government work and be an asset. Lastly, I would like to say that I'm running for office because I've just seen a number of disappointing losses with the Democratic Party last year, whether it be North Hempstead or the county. Even looking at what happened with the Supreme Court with this draft of an opinion that shows that there was a concerted effort to undo Roe v. Wade. We have to be stronger as Democrats and speak up and organize our communities and focus on 3 issues or few issues and define ourselves with those issues and not let the other side define us. No fan of letting other people define me. I define myself, my character does, my reputation, which is why my community has consistently supported me, which is why I'm asking for your support. I want to bring about a new level of government service and leadership and advocacy to the Long Beach community and to all the communities here in the 4th Congressional District. So I thank you for this opportunity and I look forward to questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have our first question. Who's asking our first question?
I'd like to know what's he doing for the sewage system here in Long Beach.
Mrs. Solages, this question is addressed to you. The question on the floor was, what are you doing for in efforts?
What will we do?
Will you be doing for the sewer system here in Long Beach?
I'm very happy to say, and my colleague in government can join on this, in that the bonding that we approved, the initial bonding for that project, Senator Schumer recently provided a $64 million federal grant to complete the funding for that sewer project, or to connect it with the main county sewer system, which, as you know already, has been upgraded significantly by connecting the Bay Park to the Cedar Creek facility, and there's been significant infrastructure improvements on that. So, the sewer system is a very important asset for the county, and we have to make sure that we can improve that asset and improve it. Because sewage goes to our public health, it goes to our drinking water. As we know, here in Long Island, we have an aquifer, and we want to make sure that we have to protect that aquifer from any intrusion. And that's a major environmental issue that we're going to have to focus on the next 20 years to protect our aquifer. But just to be specific, I want to thank Senator Schumer for providing $64 million to complete the funding for that project.
Thank you so much. We're gonna ask that same question to Ms. Bynoe.
So I believe that my colleague in government hit the nail on the head. As a member of the Public Works Committee who deals with a considerable amount of environmental issues, there was a significant investment in making sure that the sewage is channeled properly. We know that as a barrier island, and Long Island as a whole, we are dealing with a single source aquifer for the ability to have potable drinking water. And it was with that spirit that I introduced 2 local laws that would deal with that effectively. Quite frankly, we hear all the time in the news about emerging contaminants meeting our waterways, our drinking water, like 1,4-dioxin. That's been one of the leading conversations regarding contaminants in the water that lead to cancer. And so as a result of that, I introduced a local law that now requires that Nassau County utilize the Department of Health to compile a report for every municipal and private water provider across this county, so that we can scrutinize the quality of the water. We can identify if there are any problems. We can collectively make sure that we fund those issues and rectify them timely. Additionally, we live in a suburban community. You see a lot of times people are watering grass even when it's raining, right? I know we've all seen it, right? And so considering that this is, we can't just look at the quality of water. We have to, because it's a finite resource. It's a single source aquifer. We have to look at preserving and conserving the water. And another law that I introduced was to make sure that anyone who has a sprinkler system, that they're able to install a smart meter. And that smart meter interfaces directly with the weather channel in an effort to make sure not only that the water doesn't come on when it's raining, that it doesn't come on if it's going to rain later in the day or rain in the next day. Because if we don't start conserving the water, there will not be enough water come 2050 was, I believe, the projected date. So we do have to be very responsible with how we're dealing with the environment. The additional item that I was able to introduce, and it was directly related to the COVID, was to make sure that industries in the area are able to be incentivized to reduce their carbon footprint and mitigate their contaminations of water and the air. And so that was passed by the IDA, and the first project of this kind came out just a couple of months ago, and we're moving forward and advancing on making sure that we mitigate and that we also have renewable sources of energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shakil, is that you? Can you hear us? We have another question.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
How are you, Mr. Miles?
Pleasure. Glad to have you here tonight. Okay. We would like for you to go ahead and present yourself to let everyone know who you are, that you're running for Congress, and what's your background. Let's hear it.
Sure. Well, everyone, thank you for having me today. My name is Kevin Shakil. I'm a 29-year-old resident from Westbury in District 4. I'm a father of 2. I come from a South Asian Hispanic background, and I'm looking to shake things up. I'm looking to make changes that basically people feel that the voice is not being heard in Washington anymore, and I'm looking to bring the people's voice back to Washington. And that's why I'm running for CD4.
Excellent. We're going to ask our next question directly to you, which has been in the chat. We'll stay right here and read it. It says, how can we be assured that after being elected, Long Beach will not take a back seat? How do you yourself helping those residents struggling with high taxes and high unaffordable rent? So we're dealing with taxation and we're dealing with rent and housing. How are you going to help mitigate those issues, Mr. Shakil, here in Long Beach?
Well, the most important thing is that once I get elected, right? I've been saying this since day one. We're gonna hire the proper experts who will tell us how to get these things done. Politicians come here and say that we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, and once they get elected, they cannot fulfill their promises. What I promise you is that once I get elected, I'm going to figure out how to get it done correctly, how to get it done properly, and I'm going to hire the right people to tell us how to do it correctly, so our residents in Long Beach and our residents in CD4 can get taken care of properly, and not just with some false promises. I'm not going to sit here and make a false promise to you guys because that's what most people do. I'm going to be here and be very transparent, very honest with you guys. I'm the type of person where I want to figure it out and how I can help. And I'm not going to say I'm going to do everything under the sun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do everything I can in my power to help our residents.
Thank you. We're moving on to the next candidate, which is Mr. Solages. Same question. How can we be assured that Long Beach will not take a back seat, and how will you help residents struggling with high taxes and unaffordable rents?
Thank you very much for the question, sir. I, as you know, represent the 3rd legislative district. I represented the district for 10 years, and in the beginning, when I was first elected in 2011, the district had a different shape. This was before redistricting, and initially the district did not include Inwood. I was lucky to inherit Inwood as a community that Inwood is known as the forgotten 5th town, a high need community that did not have many quality of life issues addressed, lacked resources. Not to say that Inwood was not a great community before I began to represent it. It was a wonderful community, but I made sure as a legislator that Inwood became the first of the 5 towns, not the forgotten 5th town. We held community events there, Inwood Day, to promote the community. We promoted more housing opportunities. Very happy to say that recently the town code changed in that area based on supporting the community to provide more housing opportunities. This was something done by the town, but we advocated to them. And so I have to say that as your Congress member, if God should give me the grace to represent you in that capacity, I will treat your community the same way that I treated Inwood. I would give you priority. And it is important, you know, like in the good book, it says that those who are last shall be fed first. And again, I'm not in the church. I don't want to quote it incorrectly, but I believe in giving proper attention to communities that are marginalized and that are looked over. It's not just Long Beach. I think there are many communities in Inwood that deserve more priority. And I look to represent those areas. I look to represent all areas equally, but especially those areas that have been overlooked. And I see that a major issue in Long Beach, as it is in Hempstead, is housing. And, you know, when I recently was campaigning at 100 Terrace Avenue in the village of Hempstead, I discovered from tenants that this Section 8 program was going to be shifted to administered in Suffolk County. I wrote a letter to the county executive and also to the governor asking that that be delayed. I'm not waiting until November or August 23rd, as we recently learned, to change or to help impose change or to help people. You know, when I find community issues, I, you know, direct my attention onto them. That has been the hallmark of my office for the past 10 years. You can say what you want to say about me, but people in my community know that if you have an issue, you can call my cell phone. And I've been able to attend and address community issues in that way. So I'm running out of time, but I just want to say that again, you will see me in the communities with my sleeves rolled up, ready to do the hard work. Thank you.
Ms. Bynoe,
Yes. So,
please address us concerning rent and high taxes.
okay. So to that point, I've been boots on the ground, serving over 20 years on housing issues. I have administered up to $3 million in down payment assistance program to help individuals be able to purchase homes here in Nassau County. In addition, I have run a housing authority that not only looked at the bricks and the mortar, made sure that there was a roof over the heads of the families. I also worked to make sure through our family self-sufficiency program that we were able to identify impediments, barriers that stop individuals from being able to self-actualize, be able to get the jobs that they really wanted. And if it was childcare, we provided childcare. If it was a car, we tried to help them find, economical way to transport. We worked earnestly with the families to identify goals and help them meet those goals. During COVID, I realized that there would be potentially an issue for people to even pay their taxes. So I introduced a law that went straight across the dais and unanimously was approved, where we assisted individuals who could not pay their taxes. This is the kind of thinking and the kind of service that I think this community, along with every other community, is in need of. Additionally, I worked with my colleague at the time, it was Laura Curran, she was a legislator, and we introduced a bill to create a land bank so that individuals who wanted to be able to
30 seconds.
be able to purchase homes had an ability to be able to buy homes that we reclaimed from the community that were zombie homes. And we renovated them and sold them to first-time home buyers. I am a boots on the ground type of leader. I will always be seen in the
10
community,
seconds.
serving the community, and I have been direct service, so I know how to do that, and I know what is needed in terms of changes in Washington to better deliver those type of services here in Nassau County, specifically in Long Beach, and you will have that service from me. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to go to our audience for a question. Mr. Tinker, do you have a question?
Actually, I do. This goes to all the candidates. With us still dealing with COVID, if elected to Congress, what plan would you have to help people find jobs with this new shift to working virtual, working remote, who might not have some of those technical skills? What can you do to help those people be able to secure jobs, to be able to take care of their families with the changing of these industries, moving from commuting to the office to working remotely from home or doing a virtual work a few days a week, just to make sure they still have that skill set to maintain their job and their lifestyle?
Ms. Bynoe, could you please answer that question?
Sure. As the chairwoman or co-chair of the Workforce Development Committee for the Nassau County Hub, I've been working very closely with Opportunities Long Island, with the Department of Labor, with United Way, to identify opportunities to upskill individuals and be able to allow them to go back into the workforce and get the jobs that they want. I think that what we need to do from Washington throughout this country is create earn and learn programs so that individuals who want to be upskilled, who may be unemployed, have an opportunity to earn some money while they're upskilled, so that they're not distracted about how they're going to keep the roof over their head or food on their table. Additionally, when you speak of technology and having access, I'm very thankful for the infrastructure plan that comes down, because it requires broadband investments into communities that might ordinarily not have access to the internet. And so I think, between utilizing that infrastructure plan that's coming down here, making sure that we drive those dollars into the communities that need it so desperately, along with working with these workforce development organizations, we can get it done. We just have to have the money to come in. I just think that
30 seconds.
I think the country has created a disservice for individuals who want to upskill, because they allow them to be distracted and not keep their eye on the goal, which is to be upskilled so that you can re-enter the workforce and become a higher, income earner, and be able
10
to
seconds.
provide for your family and also attain your dreams. So that's what I would do when I go to work. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Solages, back to you with the same question. How would you deal with jobs post-COVID, lacking tech skills, remote versus in-person, all of the things that help people get the skills that they need to be employed and employable?
Thank you very much for the question. That's a great question. We are still living in this pandemic. Despite the lack of people wearing masks, we are still living in this pandemic. And so as your Congress member, I'm going to make sure that there's federal funding under state COVID guidelines, that all those funding sources are continued or extended. There's no reason why hospitals should not be able to receive funding that was available to them under COVID when it is still a reality, especially for our working class community that is forced to expose themselves to others at a larger degree or higher degree by the fact that we have, working class families. It's very important that we continue COVID funding for our state governments. And in addition, when it comes to jobs, we have a tremendous opportunity. We're on the brink of an environmental revolution where our state and the local governments are going to, abide by emission standards, and we have the opportunity to create new jobs, such as all those windmills that they plan to build on the South Shore of Long Beach. I'm going to make sure that these unions and these other entities that will build these great features, these great improvements, will come to our communities first and provide apprenticeship and other job learning opportunities. As the legislator for the 3rd District, when the UBS Arena, where the Islanders play, was on the table being negotiated, I argued along with the Assemblywoman for the district that any project there at Belmont Racetrack must have union labor, and that union labor must do apprenticeship programs. I'm very happy to say that recently I saw a speech by this young man who benefited from that program and now has a job, a young man from the community. I'm also going to work with our Chamber of Commerce and other business and related entities, and work with the Small Business Administration to make sure that the Small Business Administration can provide educational opportunities for our community to learn how to do resumes or to do penny stocks.
Thank you so much.
Things that our young people need to do. I guess I'm running out of time.
You're out.
Okay.
So we thank you. We appreciate you.
In addition, the pandemic forced us to be inside. I want to make sure that all nonprofits and all faith-based organizations are able to apply for federal grants for community activities to bring us out together again. We have to learn to connect with each other as human beings. And so by bringing people out again, by encouraging education, by encouraging their apprenticeship opportunities, we can improve more the job situation and the economic outlook.
He's waiting and chomping at the bit for his chance to answer this question. Mr. Shakil. Same question.
One of the first things.
Oh, you're already ready. Let's go.
I'm ready to go. Basically, when COVID hit, right? I have my own business. We have about 22 employees, and COVID shut us down within 24 hours. What we did at my business is with an IT background that I came with, I basically did step-by-steps with my employees on how they can work from home. And within a week or two, we got everybody fully functional to work from home. We never let anyone go, and everybody continued working from home. With that being said, once I accomplished this with my own business, I put my number out in the community that people who needed help, they can reach out to us. I had about 4 different businesses who reached out to me at no cost, and I basically told them how they're able to shift from working from the office to working from home. So we have a lot of people who are not tech savvy, as we know, right? And COVID basically forced many people to go home and stay home. So what I would do once elected, that if we're looking at another lockdown, if we're looking at people shifting to working from home, right? We create jobs where we have tech people who are already out there who know how to do this, who can teach people how to work from home, teach them the basic skills on how to connect to the internet, how to connect to VPN, how to connect to their network, and also provide these types of training to small businesses, because a lot of small businesses went out of business because they did not know how to shift from working from home. As we know, we're a very service industry nation. So basically, a lot of people had no idea on how to shift from working from home, and a lot of people lost their jobs. If once elected to Congress, what I would do is I would create legislation to create more jobs so people can learn how to work from home and how to shift their business and provide the resources for these small businesses and not just, leave them out to dry. Yes, we had the PPP loan, but the problem is if businesses were not functioning and people and they've let go of their employees, they were not able to get these loans and get these loans forgiven, for that matter of fact. So basically, in order for the businesses to get these PPP loans and to get the forgiveness, basically people had to continue working. They had to keep people on. If businesses did not know how to transition from working to home and transition in this time period, then how would they survive? What I would do is I would introduce legislation to create these new jobs for people who are in the tech industry, to teach small businesses on how to shift from working from home, and those people who are working from home,
That is your
any
time.
resource they need. Thank you.
We're gonna have another question from the audience. Raise your hand.
Long Beach North Park contains a brownfield area, which is also designated as an opportunity zone. However, our residents have lived and suffered with various health challenges because of the toxic environment. If elected to the Congress, how will you work to repair this injustice? And that's for all candidates.
We're gonna start with Mr. Shakil. How are you gonna deal with the Brownsfield contamination of the soil here?
Well, it's very straightforward. Basically, one of the reasons why I'm running for Congress is due to environmental injustices. About last year, we had a huge fire in Jamaica Ash waste facility in Westbury, where residents were exposed to toxic fumes for about 24 hours. It was a huge fire, and until this day, there was no air quality testing that was done. There's actually a current investigation going on. So this is one of the reasons why I'm running for Congress, because seeing that environmental injustices can happen in my own community and nothing was said or done about it, I was thinking about what kind of environmental injustices are happening to other communities. So once elected to Congress, one of the main things I want to do for my district and the whole US is to ensure that any single environmental injustice that's being done out there, right, that we rectify it and we fix it. Be it in Long Beach, be it in Westbury, be it in Hempstead, anywhere across the US or anywhere in District 4, any single environmental justice, what I want to do is I want to partner with different organizations who are experts in environmental justice and reach out to them and say how we can fix the injustices that have already happened and how can we fix this for our next generation, because we know the damages are there and the damage is already being done to us right now. The question is how can we fix it, and that's my goal, to ensure that whatever I do as a congressman, that the number one priority I have is environmental injustice and how we rectify it.
Thank you. Ms. Bynoe.
Thank you. So I spoke earlier about the land bank, and one of the missions of the land bank is to deal with brownfield areas, to be able to go in and work with the DEC and get grant money, funds that wouldn't ordinarily be available to other entities, but would be available to land banks based on their charter. We'd be able to get the funds to be able to rectify those conditions that exist in Brownsfield. Second, I told you before about the law that I had implemented directly related to the outbirth of environmental injustices related to COVID, that it wasn't lost on me that it was Black and brown communities that were centered around these industrial parks that were suffering. So I testified before the Industrial Development Agency here in Nassau County. I testified and authored a policy and submitted it to the IDA, and they accepted it and they voted unanimously to implement that policy. That policy would allow for these manufacturing companies that are sitting in industrial areas to qualify for an incentive to reduce their pollutants that they're releasing in the air, whether it be particle matter, whether it be runoff into waste, into the water system, whether it be
30 seconds.
toxic and noxious fumes. And that law was introduced and it's already working. So those are the things that I would continue to foster when I go to Washington. common sense, pragmatic solutions that could affect the daily lives of those that live around those type of conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just as a point of clarification, for those who don't know, the DEC is Department of Energy and Conservation. That would be who she would be partnering with, for those who don't know. Also in the chat, put your questions in the chat if you have any questions and you're online. And now we have Mr. Solages.
Thank you very much. Great question. There was in Inwood in the 3rd legislative district, there was a brownfield next to cement factory. The cement factory kept on dumping its excess cement onto the county property, which was a brownfield. This was back in 2013. I reached out to my colleagues, my friend in Channel 11. There was a program called Shame, 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 and we exposed that cement factory for what they were doing. In addition, when it came to that brownfield in Inwood on Rogers Avenue, the county, we secured funding to improve that site, and we ended up recently selling that property in Rogers Avenue and requiring the DEC with the new owner of that property to make all improvements, saving the county millions. I'm an advocate, I'm an attorney. When I see an injustice, whether it be an injustice in our courts or an injustice in our environment, we cannot talk about environmental justice without talking about environmental racism. And as an attorney, we have to recognize that under the Erie Doctrine of the United States Constitution, the federal government cannot force the state government to do anything. However, the federal government can provide incentives for our city government, our county government, and our state government, and our village governments to make improvements, especially as it relates to the environment. Because as we know, we have many goals as a society when it comes to environment, whether it be reducing waste or reducing carbon emissions. And so, addressing these issues each and every time they come up is very important. We have to we could explore if there is an example or allegation of a brownfield or some pollutant being done by an actor, we have to appropriately correct resources to address these issues. So I would like to close in summation by saying that we have to connect and educate our community with all the important entities, whether it be DEC or the Attorney General's office, that can help solve a lot of these environmental issues such as brownfields.
Thank you so much. Will there be another question from the audience? If not, I have a question from the Civic Group. This is for all candidates. How do you envision inclusion and diversity within our government? How do you, as congressional candidates, envision inclusion and diversity within our government? Mr. Solages, we're starting with you.
Thank you very much. My colleague and I also sit on I'm the ranking member of the Office of Minority Affairs Committee in the county legislature. The county government is defined by the county charter, and the county charter requires under different provisions that our county do its best to reach goals of diversity and inclusion. I've been at the forefront in making sure that our county government reflects our community and our county. I have been very vocal at county hearings where we would ask the police commissioner, about diversity in the police department, or we would ask the parks commissioner about diversity in the parks department, or all throughout our county government. It is, not assumed that we have institutions that reflect our community. We often have to advocate for positions to make sure that, not just higher ranking positions, but every position has the ability for anyone from our community to apply for and have a chance in receiving that opportunity. And so as an attorney, I understand the obligation that governments have, for example, MWBE requirements, they're not being met. And we have to expose this, and we have to ask the hard questions and to advocate and use the office of the congressional office in terms of its ability to provide oversight to ask, why aren't our institutions, our schools, our workforces, why do they not reflect the communities that we live in? I mean, that was one of the first reasons as to why I got involved in government, because I saw that the sanitation workers did not reflect the community in Elmont. And so this is a very important question. It's more than just tolerating diversity. It's actually imposing inclusion. And we need that more. And we're not, and one should not assume that because it's 2022 that we have that. We have to make sure that our state laws and our federal laws that require NWB to participation are met, and we need to keep pushing that very important issue.
Thank you so much. Mr. Shakil, same question.
Well, it's how I run my business right now to begin with. I mean, basically, all of my employees are minorities. Basically, I come from my minority background. I'm half Hispanic, I half South Asian. In regards to what Legislator Solages has said about, him questioning the police commissioner about, why our police force is not more diverse. I mean, my organization, Empowering Young Professionals Long Island, was one of the few organizations who called out Commissioner Ryder when he said that the reason Black and Hispanic folks do not become police officers is because they come from broken homes. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding already. What I've been doing, I've already been calling it out. Basically, and also in regards to MWBE mandates not being met, we basically kind of forced a hearing to be conducted 2 years ago in Nassau County legislators in regards to Office of Minority Affairs on how their mandates are not being met and how just tons of waivers. So in regards to on what I would do to ensure diversity and inclusivity is by doing exactly what I've been doing through my organization, by calling out what's not being done and by calling it out to their face. I mean, I'm a type of person where I don't care who it is and what position you're in. The most important thing is that we talk about diversity and inclusion, but if we're not doing anything about it, then what's the point? So like I've been saying, my organization, Empowering Young Professionals, was one of the few organizations who called out the police commissioner when he said that Hispanics and African Americans came from broken homes. So what I would do as a member of Congress is exactly what I'm doing today, by calling it out and trying to rectify it and get it done. Obviously, as a community member, your voice goes as far as it can go. But as a member of Congress, I would ensure that my voice goes to legislation to ensure that things are being done and things are being met.
Thank you so much. Ms. Bynoe, you have the floor.
Thank you. And so to the point of MWBE diversifying the procurement, the ability for contractors, for service providers, for supply companies to be able to have access to government contracts. I introduced a law, unfortunately it wasn't called, but I did introduce a law that would allow for Nassau County to remove one of the #1 barriers associated with impeding these type of companies from being able to MWB and minority and women business enterprises from being able to be a part of that procurement process. And the #1 issue when I interviewed businesses was bond issuance, that they could not afford to pay for the bond surety to be able to conduct that type of work or to be competitive. So I did move forward on a piece of legislation on that. Secondly, I called on the previous county executive to hire a DEI, a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer to be able to work with the police department to assist them in creating their test and being able to assist them in recruiting and in training and evaluating minority candidates that are going through the academy. Third, I'm going to leak it out here today. I met with legal counsel today for the third time on a bill that I'm moving through the county legislature, which would require every single employee to be trained in diversity, equity, and inclusion.
30
because
seconds.
as a government, if we don't understand our implicit biases, we will continue to fail to be able to be inclusive. So that is a bill that will be meeting the legislature within probably the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we are coming to the end. Do we have any more questions in the audience? No more questions in the audience? We're getting ready to come to the end of our program. We would like to thank you once again all for your participation. We appreciate your honesty. We appreciate your participation, and we look forward to this election. This is going to be a very engaging election cycle. But we're going to allow you to go ahead and conclude. We're going to extend you to 2 minutes for your conclusion. And we're going to start with you, Ms. Bynoe.
So again, it's really been my honor to be here this evening. and it's been my highest honor to be in service to Nassau County's 2nd Legislative District. I have really enjoyed the work and to be able to bring change where our entire county workforce, who is public facing, including our police officers and our 911 operators and our parks and recreation staffers, are required to go through mental health first aid training so that we could meet the needs of our community that is desperately in need of assistance. We can identify those issues. We have the ability to de-escalate and do a proper referral. It's an honor to work on those environmental issues, the housing issues. No. No impact and their ability to be able to be efficient and sustain here in Nassau. A privilege for me to serve this community in Washington. So I hope that you would consider me come August 23rd. And I hope that you will continue to watch the excitement that's building around my campaign. And I hope that you join me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Shakil, final remarks, 2 minutes.
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation. I apologize for my tardiness. I want to say something to you guys who are watching this today, that this is a really important time in our country, that we must elect strong leaders who are going to call out injustices anywhere, who are not going to fall in line with whatever the party tells them to. I'm the only candidate that's running that's an independent Democrat, that I'm not getting the party's favor. I'm not listening to the party. I'm doing whatever the people tell me to do. And the people have asked me to run, and that's the only reason I'm running. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for glory. What I'm looking for is to represent the people of CD4, to represent all of us and ensuring that we leave a good future for our children. At the end of the day, I mean, we're going to live on this earth maybe 40, 50 more years, but the next generation, what we build today is for the next generation. And I want to leave a legacy where I ensure that whatever I do as a congressman, it's for our children, it's for our future generations, and especially for the residents of Long Beach. I mean, listen, we live on an island. You guys live so close to the coast. We're having 100-year storms happening every other year. And Long Beach is only talked about during the summertime when everybody comes down for the summer to enjoy your beaches. But throughout the year, you guys are not looked at or taken care of. As your Congress member, I will ensure that I am there for you guys. I am there for every single resident in CD4, and I'm there for our future generations. And if you want to join this campaign, you can reach out to me directly. My cell phone number is 917-690-4067. I'm a 29-year-old looking to make a change for our future generations, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Solages, you will have the final word.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'm running for Congress based on my record of service, of standing up for my community, going back to Superstorm Sandy, which is very analogous as we face these 100-year storms every other year. I was out there in the streets connecting people with the electricity company at the time to make sure that people had electricity. Also, fast forward to the time when our government actors were responsible in distributing or promoting the vaccine and the COVID pandemic. I was once again able to organize and facilitate many individuals from our community in receiving that important vaccine. We are in very difficult times, and I'm asking you to please get involved, to please know about your candidates, and to please vote. We just saw the other day, the potential, with the potential overturning of Roe v. Wade, we see that our rights are not guaranteed. They're not there forever, that people are challenging our rights, our existence, our humanity. We have to stand up and as one community and address the issues that are important to us, our public health. Our communities are at a higher rate of exposure when it comes to many diseases and issues, conditions from cancer to blood pressure to diabetes. As your Congress member, I'm going to promote access more to our health facilities and public health services. Public safety is very important. I've been criticized for promoting technology like which I was able to secure funding for, like ShotSpotter in the community, when in essence, it made the community safer. I'm not afraid to use technology to make our community safer. Lastly, property tax relief. As an attorney, I've reached out to my attorney friends to provide free pro bono legal services in our community so that people can learn how to properly challenge or grieve their property tax assessment. You know, people didn't elect me to help protest the property tax system. They elected me to change the system. And so it is with that same spirit that I seek to change this system, to increase our salt tax deductions, the cap on the salt tax deductions, so that life here in Nassau County becomes more sustainable. We're experiencing record high inflation. We have to make sure that we can adapt our economic policies to address that. Yes, you know, fighting for the environment is important, but when inflation is high, we still have to use natural gas. And so, you know, there as a graduate of Georgetown University, there's some very important economic policies that we have to make sure that we steer our country in, so that our economy works for us. I'm looking forward to learning more about your community as this campaign continues. The Long Beach community is a great community. I just don't go there for vacation, but I go there also to shop and to support that community. And so I thank you again for this opportunity. I look forward to a positive and a spirited campaign. And please don't forget to vote on August 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We want to give everybody a round of applause tonight. We thank all of our congressional candidates. One of these people will be your congressman or woman after August 23rd. Election day is, for us, August 23rd. It has been recently moved. This is just for the Congress. You can still have the gubernatorial and the assembly election on June 20th, which is the other primary. All right, please keep these dates, June 28th, August 23rd in mind. We will be engaging our residents to come out and vote. We appreciate you all for your time. We thank you so much, and we look forward to what the future holds for all of you. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.